the shocking betrayal, the text that shattered everything. Maya Chen's hands trembled as she stared at the phone screen. The message wasn't meant for her. It was meant for him, her fiancé, Daniel Warren, the man she was supposed to marry in exactly 3 weeks. But he'd left his phone on the kitchen counter while he showered, and when it buzzed with a notification, Maya's world imploded. Last night was incredible. I can't stop thinking about you. When are you telling her? Or are we going to keep sneaking around forever? V. The timestamp showed it was sent at 2:47 a.m. Maya's breath caught in her throat. Last night, Daniel had told her he was working late at the firm, preparing for a major case. He'd come home at midnight, kissed her forehead, and climbed into bed beside her. She'd believed him. She always believed him. The perfect lie. Maya had met Daniel Warren 3 years ago at a charity gala in Manhattan. He was everything she'd ever wanted. Ambitious, charming, from a powerful family that owned half the real estate in New York City. He'd pursued her relentlessly, showering her with roses, handwritten notes, and promises of forever. She'd fallen hard and fast, abandoning her own dreams of opening an art gallery to support his career. Her family had warned her. Her best friend Celeste had seen right through him, but Maya had been blinded by love, convinced that Daniel was different from the entitled rich boys she'd dated before. She'd been wrong. The confrontation. The bathroom door opened. Daniel emerged in a cloud of steam, towel wrapped around his waist, water droplets glistening on his sculpted shoulders. He smiled at her, that devastating smile that had made her fall in love with him. Morning. Beautiful. Want to grab breakfast at? He stopped mid-sentence when he saw her face. His eyes darted to his phone in her shaking hands. Who's V? Maya's voice was barely a whisper, but it cut through the air like a blade. Daniel's expression shifted so quickly it was almost comical, from confusion to realization to calculated damage control. Baby, it's not what you think. Then what is it? Her voice grew stronger, fueled by rage that was building in her chest like a wildfire, because it looks like you've been sleeping with someone else while I've been planning our wedding, while I've been picking out flowers and tasting cakes and choosing our future. The brutal truth. Daniel ran his hand through his wet hair, a gesture she'd once found endearing. Now it just made her sick. Okay, look. Vanessa and it just happened. It doesn't mean anything, Vanessa. Maya's mind raced. Vanessa Clark, your paralegal? The same woman Maya had met dozens of times at firm events. The one who'd helped her plan Daniel's surprise birthday party. The one who'd smiled at Maya while stealing her fiancé behind her back. Daniel held up his hands defensively. It's just physical, Maya. You're the one I love. You're the one I'm marrying. Are you insane? Maya threw the phone at him. He caught it, his jaw tightening. You cheated on me, and you think I'm still going to marry you? The ultimatum. Don't be dramatic. Daniel's voice turned cold, revealing the man beneath the charming mask. We're 3 weeks from the wedding. My parents have invited 200 people. The venue is paid for. The press has already covered our engagement. If you walk away now, you'll look like a fool. Maya stared at him, seeing him clearly for the first time. This wasn't the man she'd fallen in love with. This was a stranger who cared more about appearances than her heart. You'll regret this, Daniel continued, stepping closer. His wet skin smelled like expensive cologne, a scent that now made her nauseous. Walk out that door and you'll have nothing. No apartment, no connections, no future. I made you, Maya. Without me, you're nobody. The breaking point. Something inside Maya snapped. 3 years of putting his needs first, of shrinking herself to fit into his world, of sacrificing her dreams for his ambitions, it all crystallized into a single moment of clarity. You're right about one thing, she said quietly, meeting his eyes. I will regret this. I'll regret every second I wasted loving a man who never deserved me. She grabbed her purse and walked toward the door of the penthouse they shared, the penthouse his parents had bought them as an engagement gift. Where are you going? Daniel called after her, anger creeping into his voice. Maya paused at the door, her hand on the handle. Somewhere you'll never find me. Somewhere I can become the woman I was before you convinced me I was nothing without you. The mysterious call. As she stepped into the elevator, her own phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her swipe to accept. Maya Chen? The voice was deep, cultured, with a hint of an accent she couldn't place. Who is this? Someone who knows what Daniel Warren did to you, and someone who can help you make him pay. The elevator doors closed, sealing her away from the life she'd known. Maya's heart pounded as she pressed the phone closer to her ear. I'm listening. Good. Because revenge, Miss Chen, is a dish best served with a plan. Meet me at the Meridian Gallery in 1 hour. Come alone. And Maya? The voice dropped to a whisper that sent chills down her spine. Bring your anger. You're going to need it. The line went dead. Maya stared at her reflection in the polished elevator doors. Her eyes were red from crying, her hair disheveled, her engagement ring still glinting on her finger. She twisted it off and let it drop into her purse. The elevator descended, taking her away from Daniel, away from her old life, and toward something unknown. Someone knew her secrets. Someone was watching, and somehow that felt less terrifying than the thought of going back upstairs and pretending everything was fine. As the doors opened to the lobby, Maya stepped out into the morning sunlight. The city stretched before her, full of possibilities and dangers she couldn't yet see. She had 1 hour to decide, walk away and rebuild her life alone, or meet this mysterious stranger and discover what revenge really looked like. Her phone buzzed again. A text from the unknown number. P.S. I know about the prenup Daniel's father made you sign. I know about the clause that leaves you with nothing if you break the engagement. And I know how to make sure you get everything you deserve. The question is, are you brave enough to take it? Heartbreak A&D Revenge. The stranger's proposal. The Meridian Gallery stood in the heart of Soho, a sleek building of glass and steel that Maya had walked past 100 times, always dreaming of the day she'd display her own artwork inside. Now, as she pushed through the heavy doors, that dream felt like it belonged to a different person entirely. The gallery was closed to the public, but the door had been unlocked, as if expecting her. Maya's footsteps echoed on the polished concrete floors as she moved through the stark white space, past installations of twisted metal and haunting photography. You came. The voice from the phone call materialized from the shadows at the back of the gallery. Maya's breath caught. The man who stepped into the light was not what she'd expected. He was probably in his mid-30s, with dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble. His suit was impeccably tailored, his presence commanding. But it was his eyes that held her, dark, intense, and knowing. Who are you? Maya demanded, trying to keep her voice steady. The man behind the call. My name is Alexander Cross. He moved closer, his movements fluid and calculated. And before you ask how I know about your situation with Daniel Warren, let's just say I make it my business to know things about powerful people in this city. Are you a journalist? A private investigator? Alexander smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I'm an investor. I own this gallery, among other properties, and I have a vested interest in seeing the Warren family brought down a few pegs. Maya's instinct screamed at her to leave. This man was dangerous in ways Daniel had never been. Daniel was a liar and a cheat, but Alexander Cross radiated something darker, a controlled fury that reminded her of a predator waiting to strike. "Why?" she asked. "What did they do to you?" "The shared enemy." Alexander's jaw tightened. 5 years ago, Daniel's father, Robert Warren, destroyed my family's business. We owned a construction company that had been in my family for 3 generations. Robert wanted the contracts we held, so he fabricated evidence of safety violations, bribed inspectors, and buried us in lawsuits. By the time we cleared our name, we'd lost everything. My father died of a heart attack 6 months later, and my mother, he paused, pain flickering across his face. She never recovered. Maya felt her anger toward Daniel expanding to encompass his entire family. "I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry. Be angry." Alexander stepped closer, his eyes burning into hers. "I've spent 5 years rebuilding, waiting for the perfect moment to strike back. And then I heard about your engagement to Daniel Warren. I've been watching you, Maya. I've seen how bright you are, how talented, and I've watched him dim that light piece by piece. The plan unfolds." "How did you know about this morning?" Maya asked, suspicion creeping in. "I have someone inside Warren and Associates. Someone who's been feeding me information for months. When Vanessa Clark sent that text to Daniel, my contact made sure it went to the wrong phone first, yours." Alexander pulled out his phone and showed her a series of photos. Daniel and Vanessa in restaurants, hotel lobbies, his car. "I've been documenting their affair for 6 weeks. Maya's stomach churned looking at the evidence. "Why show me this? Why not just use it yourself? Because revenge is more satisfying when it's personal." Alexander's voice dropped to a whisper. "And because I'm offering you a partnership. You help me destroy the Warren Empire, and I help you get everything Daniel promised you and more." The impossible choice. "I don't understand. How would I even—" "You still have 3 weeks until the wedding," Alexander interrupted. "Here's what I propose. You go back to Daniel. You forgive him, convince him you're still getting married. Meanwhile, you work with me. You gather evidence, access files, learn secrets. The Warrens trust you because they think you're weak, compliant. But we both know you're not. Are you?" Maya's mind reeled. Go back to Daniel? Pretend everything was fine? The thought made her sick, but the alternative, walking away with nothing while Daniel and Vanessa laughed about her, felt worse. "What's in it for you?" she asked. "Justice, and the satisfaction of watching Robert Warren lose everything his son is supposed to inherit." Alexander held out his hand. "Partners? The devil's bargain." Maya stared at his outstretched hand. This was insane. She should call the police, or at least Celeste. But something in Alexander's eyes called to the rage burning in her chest, the desire to make Daniel hurt the way he'd hurt her. "If I do this," she said slowly, "I want something in return besides revenge." "Name it this gallery." "You said you own it." "I want to show my work here. A full exhibition, promoted properly. Win or lose against the Warrens, that's my price." Alexander's smile was genuine this time. "You drive a hard bargain, Miss Chen. I like that. Deal." He pulled a business card from his pocket and handed it to her. "My private number. Text me when you're back at the penthouse. We'll set up a secure communication system." "And Maya?" He caught her hand as she turned to leave. "Don't underestimate how dangerous this is. The Warrens have destroyed people for less than what we're planning. If you're going to do this, you have to be all in. No hesitation, no mercy. I understand. Do you? Alexander searched her face. Because once you start down this path, there's no going back. You'll have to lie to Daniel's face. You'll have to make him believe you forgive him, maybe even love him more than ever. Can you do that? The transformation begins. Maya thought about the past 3 years. All the times Daniel had criticized her art, her clothes, her friends. The way he'd isolated her from her family made her dependent on him for everything. The smug look on his face this morning when he'd said she was nothing without him. Yes, she said firmly, I can do that. As she left the gallery, Maya caught her reflection in the window. She barely recognized herself. There was a hardness in her eyes that hadn't been there an hour ago, a determination that felt both terrifying and thrilling. Her phone rang. Daniel. She let it go to voicemail, listening to his message as she hailed a cab. Maya, baby, where are you? I've been calling for an hour. Look, I was upset. I said things I didn't mean. Come home. We need to talk about this like adults. I love you. You know I love you. Please, just come home. The return. Maya texted back, I need time to think. Going to stay with Celeste tonight. We'll talk tomorrow. But she didn't go to Celeste's apartment. Instead, she checked into a hotel under a fake name Alexander had suggested, using cash he'd given her. In the safety of the anonymous room, she finally let herself break down, crying until her throat was raw and her eyes swollen. When the tears stopped, she sat at the desk and opened her laptop. She pulled up every photo she had of Daniel, every sweet message he'd sent in the early days of their relationship. She forced herself to remember why she'd fallen in love with him, or at least who she thought he was. If she was going to convince him she forgave him, she needed to channel that version of herself, the naive, trusting Maya who believed in fairy tales and forever. The first move. The next morning, Maya returned to the penthouse. She'd practiced her speech 100 times, rehearsed the tears, the forgiveness, the plea for another chance. Daniel was waiting in the living room, looking haggard. He leaped up when she entered. Maya, thank God. I thought I'd lost you. You almost did. Her voice trembled, not entirely an act. What you did, it broke me, Daniel. I know. God, I know. It's over with Vanessa. I ended it last night. I told her it was a mistake, that you're the only one I want. He pulled her into his arms, and Maya forced herself not to recoil. I'll do anything to make this right. Therapy, postponing the wedding, whatever you need. Maya pulled back, looking up at him with tear-filled eyes. I need honesty. No more secrets. No more lies. Can you give me that? Anything. I swear. Then prove it. Maya took a deep breath, setting the trap. Show me your phone. Right now. Delete Vanessa's number, all the texts, everything. And I want access to your emails, your calendar, all of it. Complete transparency. Daniel hesitated for just a second, long enough for Maya to see the flash of calculation in his eyes. But then he nodded. Of course, absolutely. As he handed over his phone, Maya felt a thrill of power. He had no idea what he just agreed to. No idea that every email, every message, every file he gave her access to would be copied and sent to Alexander Cross. The game had begun. And Maya Chen was no longer playing to survive. She was playing to win. The ultimate payback. The double life. 3 weeks felt like 3 years. Every morning, Maya woke up beside Daniel, kissed him goodbye, and played the role of the loving fiancé. Every night, she met Alexander in secret locations across the city, abandoned warehouses, closed restaurants, the back rooms of galleries, and handed over the information she'd gathered. The Warrens' empire was built on lies. Daniel's father had bribed judges, blackmailed competitors, and embezzled funds from the charitable foundation that bore his family's name. Daniel himself had been cooking the books at his law firm, overcharging clients and pocketing the difference. Maya documented everything. She copied files from Daniel's laptop while he slept. She recorded conversations with Robert Warren at family dinners. She befriended Vanessa Clark, pretending she didn't know about the affair, and extracted information about the firm's shady dealings. But the hardest part wasn't the espionage. It was maintaining the lie. The growing connection. Alexander became her anchor in the madness. Their meetings grew longer, extending beyond business into something more complex. He listened when she needed to vent, celebrated her small victories, and reminded her why she was doing this when doubt crept in. One night, 2 days before the wedding, they sat in his penthouse office overlooking Central Park. Rain drummed against the windows as they reviewed the final pieces of evidence. "We have everything," Alexander said, closing the laptop. "The financial crimes, the affairs, the corruption. When we release this, the Warrens won't just lose their reputation, they'll face criminal charges." Maya should have felt triumphant. Instead, she felt hollow. "I can't believe I'm going through with the wedding. Part of me wants to just release everything now and run. That's not the plan." Alexander poured 2 glasses of whiskey and handed her one. "You walk down that aisle, you say your vows, and right when Daniel thinks he's won, right when he thinks he's locked you down with that prenup and those witnesses, that's when we strike. Maximum impact, maximum humiliation." The confession. "Can I ask you something?" Maya took a sip of whiskey, feeling it burn down her throat. "Is this really just about revenge for you? Or is there something else?" Alexander was quiet for a long moment. "You want the truth?" "Always. I've been alone for 5 years. Everyone I trusted, everyone I loved, they either abandoned me when my family fell apart, or I pushed them away because I was too angry to let anyone close." He turned to face her, his dark eyes intense. "And then you walked into my gallery, this woman with fire in her eyes and a broken heart, and I saw something in you I thought I'd lost. Hope. Hope. Strength. The belief that there's still justice in this world." Maya's breath caught. "Alexander, I'm not saying this to complicate things," he continued quickly. "I know you're dealing with enough, but when this is over, when the Warrens are destroyed and you're free, I want a chance. To take you to dinner like a normal person. To see if this thing between us is real or just trauma bonding." The wedding day. The morning of the wedding dawned bright and clear. Maya stood in the bridal suite of the Plaza Hotel, surrounded by bridesmaids and stylists, and felt like she was watching someone else's life unfold. Her dress was custom Vera Wang, a cascade of white silk and lace that cost more than her parents' car. The ring Daniel had given her sparkled on her finger, 3 carats of perfectly cut diamond that now felt like a shackle. Celeste, her maid of honor, pulled her aside. "Maya, are you sure about this? It's not too late to run. I have a car waiting around back, seriously." Maya hugged her best friend, feeling guilty for keeping her in the dark. "I'm sure. Trust me. I don't trust Daniel Warren as far as I can throw him. But I trust you." Celeste squeezed her hand. "Whatever you're planning, I've got your back." The ceremony. The ceremony was flawless. 200 guests filled the Plaza ballroom, a who's who of New York society. Daniel stood at the altar in his custom Tom Ford tuxedo, looking like every woman's dream. As Maya walked down the aisle on her father's arm, she caught Alexander's eye. He was seated near the back, dressed impeccably, his expression unreadable. He gave her the slightest nod. It was time. The vows were traditional, meaningless. Maya spoke them by rote, her mind elsewhere. When the minister said, "You may kiss the bride," Daniel pulled her close and kissed her with theatrical passion, and the crowd applauded. "I love you, Mrs. Warren," he whispered against her lips. "We'll see about that," Maya whispered back, so quietly only he could hear. The reception bombshell. The reception began with champagne toasts, an elegant dinner service. Daniel's father, Robert Warren, stood to give his speech, his face flushed with pride and expensive wine. "My son has chosen well," Robert boomed, raising his glass. "Maya Chen is a beautiful, gracious woman who will make an excellent Warren wife. To the happy couple, to the happy couple." The crowd echoed. As Robert sat down, the lights in the ballroom suddenly cut out. Confused murmurs rippled through the crowd. Then the massive screens that had been showing wedding photos flickered to life with a different image entirely. Bank statements. Emails. Photos of Daniel and Vanessa in bed together. What the hell? Daniel jumped up from the head table, his face going white. The screens cycled through the evidence methodically. Robert Warren's embezzlement. Daniel's affair, documented in explicit detail. Text messages where father and son discussed bribing judges and destroying competitors. Maya stood calmly, watching the chaos unfold. She found Alexander in the crowd. He was standing by the door, phone in hand, controlling the presentation. The reckoning. "Stop this. Somebody stop this." Robert roared, but the hotel staff were conspicuously absent. Alexander had paid them well to disappear. The screens went black for a moment, then displayed one final message. "The evidence has been sent to the FBI, the SEC, and every major news outlet in the city. The Warren Empire ends tonight." Daniel grabbed Maya's arm, his grip bruising. "You did this. You backstabbing bitch. You did this?" "Yes," Maya said calmly, yanking her arm free. "I did. Every secret you thought you'd kept, every lie you told, every person you destroyed, it's all out there now." "How does it feel, Daniel? How does it feel to lose everything?" "You signed a prenup?" he snarled. "You get nothing." "Nothing." Maya smiled. "Actually, I had a lawyer review that prenup. There's a clause that says it's void if either party commits adultery before the marriage is finalized." "Your affair with Vanessa? That text from this morning 3 weeks ago? That voided the prenup the moment you said I do." "I'm entitled to half of everything you own. And considering you're about to be arrested for fraud and embezzlement, I think I'll come out of this divorce quite nicely." The escape. Security guards who weren't on Alexander's payroll started moving toward Maya. She didn't wait. She kicked off her designer heels and ran, her wedding dress trailing behind her like a cape. Alexander met her at the service exit. He grabbed her hand, and they sprinted through the hotel's back corridors, the sounds of shouting and chaos fading behind them. Outside, a black car was waiting. They dove into the back seat, and the driver peeled away from the curb just as hotel security burst through the exit. Maya was breathing hard, adrenaline flooding her system. She looked down at her wedding dress, then at Alexander, and started laughing. It was manic, hysterical laughter that came from somewhere deep and wild. "We did it," she gasped. "We actually did it." Alexander was smiling too, his careful composure finally cracking. "Yes, we did. The new beginning." 3 months later, Maya Chen stood in the Meridian Gallery, surrounded by her artwork. The exhibition was titled Ashes and Embers, paintings that depicted her journey from heartbreak to revenge to rebirth. The reviews had been spectacular. Critics called her work raw, powerful, a stunning debut. But Maya barely noticed the praise. She was too busy watching the crowd, seeing people connect with her art in ways she'd only dreamed of. Alexander appeared at her elbow, looking impossibly handsome in a dark suit. "Congratulations. You're officially the most talked about new artist in New York. Funny how being involved in the takedown of one of the city's most powerful families will do that for your publicity," Maya said wryly. "The Warrens are facing 20 years minimum. Daniel's disbarred. Robert's assets are frozen. And Vanessa Clark is testifying against them both for immunity." Alexander handed her a glass of champagne. "Justice served. And revenge," Maya added. "And revenge," he agreed. "So, about that dinner I mentioned." Maya turned to face him fully. Over the past 3 months, they'd kept their distance, giving her time to heal, to find herself outside of any relationship. But now, standing in her gallery with her dreams finally realized, she felt ready. Dinner sounds perfect, but Alexander? She stepped closer, her voice dropping. "I need to know this is real, that we're not just two broken people who bonded over destruction." He cupped her face in his hands, his touch gentle. "There's only one way to find out. Take a chance on me, Maya Chen. No schemes, no revenge plots, just two people seeing if they can build something beautiful out of the ashes." Maya kissed him, and unlike the kiss with Daniel at the altar, this one felt like coming home. The crowd around them faded away, and for the first time in years, Maya felt truly, completely free. The final twist. Later that night, as Maya and Alexander left the gallery hand in hand, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but curiosity won out. "Hello? Congratulations on your exhibition, Miss Chen." The voice was female, cultured with a hint of amusement, and on destroying the Warrens. "Very impressive. Who is this?" "Someone who appreciates good revenge. I have a proposition for you and Mr. Cross. There's another family in this city that needs to be brought down. The Ashfords. Perhaps you've heard of them?" Maya met Alexander's eyes. He'd heard the conversation on speakerphone, and his expression was a mix of intrigue and wariness. "We're listening," Maya said. The voice on the other end laughed softly. "Excellent. I'll be in touch." "Oh, and Maya? Welcome to the game. You've only just begun to understand how much power you truly have." The line went dead. Maya and Alexander stood on the sidewalk, the city lights glittering around them, and felt the future unfold with dangerous possibilities. They'd gotten their revenge, found their justice, and discovered something real in the process. But the game, it seemed, was far from over.